Dun, 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 dun. Do 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 do. All right, I think I'm cruising now. So we'll hop on over. Camera C. Oh, camera A. Camera A. Green on. Hello everybody, it's me. We got another video for you guys today. I think yesterday's pots were pretty cool. I've been keeping up with posting, pretty often the shorts on my YouTube, and every once in a while when I have a really fun clip that I like, I'll post it on my Instagram. But pretty exciting stuff is happening. Right now I'm at one of those stages where it's the beginning of a new class time, and so all that really means for me is that I'm kind of in the grind moment, right? Like before I was walking along, a path and getting to, test out things with the stream and test out things with my videos. But right now I'm in the long haul. I'm in the middle of the train moving to its next station. And so once I get to that next station, then I can start amping up some other stuff. But for the time being, I'm going to get right into it. So I'll see you guys over there in a second. Green off. All right, camera C. So we're going to go over here. We're going to turn off the camera to save battery. Popping on over here. Alrighty. So, camera B. And so here we are. We're at the wheel. I'm gonna always, sometimes when there's too much of this just stuff on the bottom from the last time, I'll just get a little bit wet and I'll take this off to the side here. There we go. Bring that over. Nice. Always start with rounding off that bottom ever so slightly. I wedge these ones, and you know what I always keep on doing? I keep leaving the clay out because the clay that I get is way too soft, right? It's like peanut butter. And so I left it out, and then I played basketball last night, and oh my gosh, then I fell asleep when I got back instead of setting all the chunks in my wet box, and then all of a sudden came down this morning and I had a bunch of stone hard clay. So now again I'm gonna have to have maybe 2 weeks worth of hard clay throwing, so that's gonna be the thing. Anyway, always start at the bottom and slowly pull that up. And how we're doing that is we're always imagining 2 lanes of traffic, the ongoing and oncoming traffic. And so that's what's allowing us to really project that up forward. Once it starts getting a little bit loose like that, just push your hand a little bit more forward, and then you can finish off that pole. And I'm not going to be able to go too crazy with it because it's going to split, but I can do a little bit here. And slowly bring that back down. Keep my hand wherever I start feeling that it's wanting to rip. You can see a lot on the bottom, it's going to rip. When the clay is hard, you're kind of front loading a lot of the work. And so here I am, I'm pushing down while this hand is kind of pulling up, right? And then I go back up for another little pull, and then I'm going to bring out the hammer fist and really use your body weight, right? When your clay is getting harder, or you have to work with a lot of clay, your body weight is going to be your best friend. You don't need to be a bodybuilder to move clay. And slowly bring that fist to my palm. And we want to get it more of a hockey puck shape. So we're going to push a little bit more down. And you can see camera C. Camera C. So when I'm pushing my hand here, a lot of people will bend their hand out this way. And then you see how it's leaving their palm. I'm keeping my hand forward. And so when I'm pushing this clay out to the rim, it's feeding into this palm and it's recentering itself, right? And so I'm pushing down ever so slightly. Keeping it locked in. Look at that. Smooth as glass. Camera B. Right? So there you go. You got your hockey puck. From this point, you know, you want to make a little pond. You can't have your tadpoles dry out, so once you finish your little pond, and the reason we're really doing this is because oftentimes when people are pushing down, right, into their clay, they don't have enough water down there, right? And so then their fingers start pulling because of the friction in the surface area, building or getting rid of a lot of that water that's inside. And they end up, you know, pulling it right off center, right? And when I'm opening that up, I mean, look at you can see my nails. So camera C, camera C. So I don't know if you all can see, but you can really see my nails clawing at this, right? It's like I'm scratching against a chalkboard, right? And why are we doing that? You know, why are we like scratching it along? When you have to move this huge chunk of clay, it's way easier to cut through it, right? Imagine it's 3 layers of a cake. It's easier to cut through that bottom layer of that cake instead of moving all 3 layers, right? Because the top 2 layers, if you cut through that first layer, the top 2 layers are just going to follow. And so it's really, you know, all these moments on how to, you know, if your clay isn't moving, it's not necessarily because, you know, it could be if you're like throwing with a brick, really, but it's usually about, you know, where you have your hands set up, and that's going to be manipulating the clay a lot easier or harder depending on where those hands are. So here I am with my knuckle on my sponge here, slowly feeding up that bottom edge, have my finger on the inside, and then these first couple pulls, whoop, you see how I started lifting it up too much? So these first couple pulls are really just to equalize the clay. You don't really need to get height out of the first couple pulls. Jeez. Is this even on right? Yeah, it should be on. Wow, it's just really peaking up there. Okay, we got one more on the bottom here. Again with our knuckle around that bottom edge. I'm just taking that knuckle all the way up the side of the pot here. Camera B. There we go. So you guys can really see. And so these poles are really not for height, they're just for equalizing the clay. Once we can get it equalized, we're going to be cooking in a good spot, right? And so here we're going to do our first pole for height. Add a little bit of water. Take my finger right at the bottom, start pushing this clay down ever so slightly. And then you want to ask the clay, hey clay, you got a quest for me, my friend? And the clay's going to say, sure thing, buddy. I got a little bump that you can take to the top of the pot. And we say, oh, great, thank you so much. And so you start peeking out this little bump, right? And you're going to go really slowly up the side of the pot. And you got to think of it as almost like it's like a slug speed going up the side of the pot, right? And I'm right underneath this bump, and I'm waiting for every rotation to go up a little more. Right here, I started pinching it a little bit, so I got to be careful here. Go outward a little bit more. Oh, skipped over it. Watch. So we go right underneath where we messed up there, and continue the pull. Right. And so what happened there is I let up the pressure on the interior, and so it built up a little line of clay, and it wanted to get cut off rather than projected upwards. So we're going to start right where that mess up happened. Go slow. And there we go. And finish off that pole. Great. Okay. There we go. And so that's pretty okay. We're going to leave it at this height right here. We're not going to do anything too much crazier. Sometimes what I've been doing recently is I've been going way too thin, especially towards that bottom area, because I don't trim my pot, so I try to address that by going really thin on the bottom. But then when I go to make my twist, it can't handle the force coming on the top, and so I end up screwing the pots up. And so here we go. We're going to just start here, and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. And then we're just going to emphasize. And then when we get to the top, I feel like it was thin in this middle part. And so I want to try to get a little bit more of this bottom activated. So I'm just going to emphasize the bottom twist here just a little bit. So then it's likely to, you know, twist a little bit on the bottom as I'm opening up this top. And so here we go. We're going to take a deep breath. Allow the clay to really take your time and make a rotation. And once you feel it starting to pinch on your fingers there, you know, you can add a little bit of water. Nothing's stopping you from doing that, right? A little water on the inside here. Making it a little bit rounder. Oop. I just want to get this a little bit rounder, right? Just trying to emphasize that twist on the inside, or the twist on the bottom, and popping out that just a little bit on the exterior there, just to give it a little bit more contrast between right underneath and that top edge. And so here, if we get my flashlight here, I'll show you guys the inside. Camera C. Camera C. Alright, so you guys can see the interior spiral here. And so I just always think that this rim is really important because it ends up framing, you know, that interior there. Alright, camera B. Okay, so now we're going to work right on this bottom edge here. Push down ever so slightly. Bring that out just a little bit. Great. Okay, we're going to go right up underneath here. And the cool thing about, you know, hard clay though is that, you know, once you get past that beginning stage of centering pretty okay, and you open it up and you start pulling, it actually makes it way easier to pull up your walls. At least I feel like. You can be a lot more forceful and it's not going to disturb the form as much. Where I feel like when you're throwing with really soft clay or sometimes certain porcelains, yo, it's just like, I feel like you're just like, you're trying to keep a wet noodle straight, you know, it just is not going to work. And so here we go. We're pushing this, 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 we're pushing this. Emphasize, 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 emphasize. Oh, push that one down a little bit too much, that's okay. Right down to the bottom edge here. There we go, there's pot number 1. All right, we're gonna get into number 2 here. Camera C. Lift this up. We're going to set this right over on my chair here. Just makes it easiest. Let's see. Oh, we got a lot of people. Why closed the Cowboy Bebop? Closed? It's not closed. It's open. We're playing it. Kiki gave me some fires. E gave me Wii U same. Why closed the Cowboy Bebop? It's not closed. Camera B? Camera B? See? Look. There you go. Somebody said yes with the little hand mark or the hand pinch thing. Beautiful twist on that one. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And then somebody on YouTube said, yo. Yo, back to you. All right. Camera C. All right. So we're going to get our second one popping up here. I'm feeling my back. It feels a little bit loose, but I feel like we're okay. Sometimes the transmitter on the back of my head feels like it's just going to fall off. Again, we're going to start off by getting this little bottom part here. We're going to take off some of this clay. There we go. Bring that right out to the outside there. Nice. Okay. Put our hands down ever so slightly. Push down, push down, push down, push down, push down, push down. Camera B. Okay, here we go. Right underneath. Take that up. Nice. Look at that. Okay, right down to the bottom. And you gotta be careful because I felt it before. It's wanting to kind of get off the clay. Project that forward a little bit as we're going up. There we go. Catch it. Kind of impromptu slow-mo. Remember, keep that hand up underneath. Push that down. Project that upwards just a little bit more. Great. Bring the hammer fist down. Use your body weight. And look at that. Right on center we are. Okay. Take our fist, we're going to get a little bit flatter. You know, a lot of people say, you know, if you want to get height, you know, keep that narrow on the inside. No, I'm the opposite way. I think the wider you go on the base, the easier, it makes, or it is to make your volcanoes to get tall cylinders. I think when people are given the opportunity to have really thick and narrow, like a narrow hole and really thick wall, they end up cutting through and leaving a bunch of that clay right on the bottom rather than, helping it get up into the pot. And so when I open this up so wide, it's really to help me so I can get this clay upward with my llama pole. Llama bites right on the rim, making a little volcano here. So I pinch ever so slightly, but realistically I'm just leading my hand upward, this one here, and that pushes in. It's almost like a bird swooping down or swooping up against the wall, right? There we go, right on the bottom. Use our knuckle. Right this bottom edge here. There's one. Okay, a little bit more water on the base. We're not trying to get height right now, we're just trying to equalize those walls. A little pressure when you get on the top. You don't want to get it too thin on the top. Color that in ever so slightly. So here we are for our first poll, saying, hey Clay, you got a little gift for us? And the Clay always says, yeah, we got a little gift for you, buddy. But you're going to have to go on a journey. And I'm like, alright, journey to the top of the pot? I got you, brother. There we go, there's the first pole. And you can see that wasn't really a great pole either. That pole was just like, just very soft. Like I wasn't pushing really hard. I was just allowing the clay to really just be projected upward by the positioning of my hands, right? It's really all about positioning your hands in the right spot. So here I am pushing down underneath a little bit again. Getting a little bit thin so you can see it's starting to wobble in some spots. But don't be scared and just finish off your pole. There we go. Look at that, guys. Okay, great. Push this down a little bit on this bottom edge here. And I always see people just like taking a wooden tool or a metal tool and just getting rid of all those lines. This is like, that's your pole. That's information on what you did to create the object. I just don't think that all the time you should just erase it, right? Sometimes those lines really are important. And so here we go. We're going to start. You know what? On the bottom, we're actually going to go up a little bit. And we're going to pause. 1 rotation, 2 rotation, 3 rotation, slow wheel down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, we could have done a 7, but we're going to keep it with a 6, and we're going to have just 1 tall. Okay, so we already know it's going to want to collapse on one way more than the other because one of the sides is taller, so we got to keep that in mind as we're generating the pressure down. When I'm opening this up, I'm keeping it hooked. Look at that, just sit down. And I'm going to go kind of wide with this one. Be gentle. Let it sit. There you go. I feel like oftentimes when I do these ones, they're too cylindrical. So on this one, I really wanted to try to get it past that center or this middle third here. Like if this is 1/3, the goal is always to try to get another 2/3 on the sides here. But this is kind of not really that. But it's just past that to keep it away from looking like a cylinder. If we look on the inside, camera C, can really see the spiral on the inside. I think that looks pretty nice. Anyway, camera B. Camera B. There we go. Right on this bottom edge, compress that down a little bit. Maybe get some little spice down there, right? Push this up. Get right to the bottom. I feel like you guys can't really hear the music I'm listening to. Maybe I should turn it up. All right. We're going to pull this up ever so slightly with our pinky fingers here. Look at that. Looks pretty good. And I think we got to do one more pull, realistically. I think we can get another pull out of here. Look at that. Nice. Where's my wire tool? Oh, here it is. Okay, great. Grab my fingers right around the edge here. I'm going to cut right along this side here. Open that up. Okay. Oh. Okay. And so now we can have some fun with these tendrils. Going up the side of the pot. Have that curl over even. Look at that. Woo! You guys are going to see this one in a second. So curl that up there. Turn over. This one's not as cool. That one's really cool. I like the way that one looks. Anyway, pulling this over. Going right to the top. Curl that around. Pull that off. Nice. Again, curl it around. Go up the pot. Go up the pot. Let it drift out right there. Let it hang. Nice. Push, 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 push. Pull. Pull that off. There we go. And right there, we got pot number 2. Right to the bottom, take some of that clay off. Looking good. Okay, here we are. We're gonna move over. Camera C. See the inside here. I'm gonna set it right over here. Check the comments, see if anybody's saying anything. Nice. Good grace on the second one. Ah, thank you so much. Sweet. All right, we're gonna get right back into it. Thank you for that comment. Alrighty. Grab our last chunk of clay here. Camera B. A little slow-mo. You know, you gotta add some suspense. You gotta have some, I always think like, if making should be brutal sometimes, right? But like you should figure out how to discover little moments that you look forward to when you are making, right? All right, get that a little bit centered there. I went right up to his bottom, and I just wanna make sure, this clay is really tough. And so I'm not going to go really tall on this one. I might do one more here on those, just to get this bottom kind of figured out. Right at the side of the pot here. And I can feel some of that hard stuff inside the clay here. And I just want to project that forward ever so slightly, not too much because I don't want to create a rip. And we're going slow. If we go too fast, we're going to incite a rip, probably more near that bottom edge there, right? And so there we go. We're starting to use our body, and so my elbow is glued to my weight, and I'm coming down on it, gluing that to my body there. So here I am pushing that down, right up underneath. I start pulling up with this hand, right into another pull there. Great. And I'm going down, hammer fist right on top. Use your body weight, right? And you go down, a little bit more water, down the bottom edge. Start pulling that to your finger. That's pretty close to center. That's within tolerance, right? But I think we could get it a little bit more perfect here. There we go. Look at that, just a nice wide hockey puck right on the bottom of the pot. Open this up ever so slightly. Take your fingers, go right to the bottom here. Open this up. Take that out all the way to the edge. I feel like that looks pretty good. Okay. Smooth this bottom out just a little bit. I'll show you what we do here. So camera C. Camera C. There we go. And I just want to make sure when I bring that edge in that I'm not creating like a divot, right? I don't want to create a thin line where I can trap some of this wet slip in the interior of my walls here. And so here I am, smoothing this out ever so slightly. There we go, nice and smooth. And I take my finger, nice little spiral, take my llama, right here, happy llama, bite right on that rim, and start pushing this up. Camera B, and there we go, look at that. Just a little volcano. You always start it off as a little volcano, and then every single time to get a cylinder, you know, you're gonna bring this little edge in, and say, oh, thanks. And bring that in ever so slightly, because these first pulls are not for height. They're for equalizing that clay to get in position to pull for height, right? Everything kind of bleeds into each other as you're on the wheel, right? So it's all like in little steps and stages, but every single chunk of clay is going to need a different set of steps. You know, you can keep the general sound of your steps similar, but every clay talks to you a little bit differently, right? So here we are. I'm going to go right to the bottom here. I'm going to start pushing some of that clay down. There we go. I'm going to project a little bump out. You say, thanks, clay, for the little bump here. And so I feel like I kind of missed that bump on the bottom there. So I think I got to revisit that bottom edge. I'm going to lighten up my pressure towards the top because I think I got to do 2 more height pulls, so I don't want to get it too thin. Get a little bit more water. Color this edge ever so slightly. Go right back down to the bottom. A little bit more water. Okay, I got to give it some more focus down here. My middle finger, right on that bottom ridge where the base meets the wall. Being very slow, slowly creating a little bump, lifting it right over my finger on the outside. And you can see how I'm just very gently bringing that up. You don't want to go too fast on that bottom, and then once you got it, I mean, that's pretty good. Then you can start cruising with it. And then you can kind of just feel what the clay is saying. You know, there's a limit where if you just give it a couple spins, it's going to go upward. You don't really have to force it to go upward the whole entire time. Alright, there we go. Right to the top edge. Nice. And so you can see how we had that volcano, and we're slowly getting it up into a cylinder here. Nice. Okay. Okay, again, right to this bottom edge. Take some clay. Project that out ever so slightly. You see how I'm kind of losing it? I'm going to stay with it. Right, don't let it fall. I just went way too thin for this pole. But you can see if you just stick with it. Doesn't mind. And so when it went too thin, my interior finger started pushing out, and that's what was happening in that middle. But we're going to leave it how it is right now. Alright. And when I'm looking at this, I think this one, you know, we're going to go, let's just do something a little bit more egregious. Let's go all the way up the top here. Or maybe, well, first things first, we got to go to the bottom here. We got to get some of this water out of here. The one yesterday actually had a really cool, I left too much water in, and it created a little water fissure. And it created something absolutely crazy. It was like, looks like a little crack in the bottom to like a cavern or a cave, or you know that one scene from Finding Nemo when there's that big huge ravine that's really dark and it's like 2 giant walls underwater. It's kind of reminding me of that almost. Okay, right at the bottom here. Okay, find our pattern and take this up. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh yes, we got a 7 in there. Let me go right over this edge just a little bit, right? Being gentle. Because this one's going to want to be really wacky. You can already see how wacky this one wants to be. Emphasize some of the spots that aren't collapsing as much to try to keep that as leveled as possible. This one's really going to want to fold in there. And so you can see I'm keeping my finger, this hand on the inside, spreading my fingers ever so slightly. So then, when I go to this top edge here, I'm going to just go really slow. It's going to naturally want to twist up, right? I'm going to get a little bit more water in this edge here. don't want to do too much at one time. I just want to get this rim outward as much as possible. So I'm going to go right underneath here. I don't really care if it falls. You just want to open this up, right? Really get something to open up on this top here. I don't care if one side's a little bit left behind, but look at that, guys. Really trying to do something fun with opening up that top. And so I'll show you guys the inside. Camera C. So you guys can really see what's going on the inside here. This top's a little bit wonky, but I totally don't really mind because I think there's a lot of really cool qualities in this pot right here. I really feel like this one does a good job with that little vortex. There's like a nice looseness here. So here we are, we're gonna pull up this bottom. Camera B, camera B. There we go. Okay, right up underneath here. And we're gonna do some tendrils on this one too, I feel like. Do all of them have tendrils today? No. Okay. Or maybe we'll do the flowers, petals. I'm not sure. We'll see in a second. Something's dripping on my... What is this? Where's that dripping from? There's like a bunch of water on the ground. I don't really know where it's coming from. Probably somewhere on my wheel. I just couldn't discover where. Get my pinky right up under here. We're going to pull the wall. And you know, when you're pulling this wall, the first pull, you want it to go upwards a little bit. The second pull, you can go outward to wherever your desired thing is. Oh, look at that starting to rip there. So this might totally collapse, but this might look cool. But we need to finish the pot before it totally rips off there, right? And so this is where I think some of the fun parts are, is like the pots, they start to finish themselves based on, you know, how they're going to collapse and fall apart, right? Well, yeah, just a little bit thinner. Okay. I feel like this one, if I'm looking at this one, I probably should do the little... Okay, here we go. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do we keep it like this? I think we got to. I'm going to emphasize every one of these though a little bit. All right. More. Okay. Get it right up underneath there. Trim that off, and so we're going to leave it wide on that bottom. I mean, look at that. Oh, it's like a little window. So I think that really some of these are kind of cool, you know. Sometimes, you know, when they collapse like that, they look like not great, right? But sometimes, you know, if all the other elements are pretty looking intentional, right? Camera C? Camera C? When all the other elements look like they're, I like it. I vote keep it. Thanks. Yeah, that's so fun. But yeah, when all the other elements, you know, look a little bit, what's the word? Intentional. It gives you some room to have moments that are like those really drastic collapses, right? And so you can see on some of them, like, I don't know if you can see, like maybe you can, but that rim on that one like totally fell apart, right? Or this one here, you know, tilted off to the side, right? But it's still together. And so those moments are really, you know, they can say a whole lot, especially in context with other ones. And so that's why some of the more mundane pots are important to have, right? That looks like it's tilting a little bit backwards. Yeah, we gotta get that a little bit more forward. It's hitting that rim, but that's okay. All right, camera A. Camera A. Look at that. Really thinking there's some fun right there in these ones. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go in the back. Turn on the camera here. So I'm still a little stiffly. I don't even know if that makes sense. All right. Green on. Hello, everyone. Today, we have a couple more pots for you guys. If I'm looking at these pots, I'm really thinking that this one right here, I mean, this one has got it going on. There's something about that rip and tear that's framing on that, you know, those middle parts of that veins of the tree going upwards. And I think it has a nice contrast on this bottom part over here where it's just splaying it out and adding to that contrast of form, right? Think of the silhouette of your pots as you're, you know, making them. All right, if I go over to this one here, I think this one, you know, I like the buffer. I think there's something cool. The tendrils go over top of it, but still a little bit more mundane. But something I like about it is that top part is going a little bit wider than what I normally go. So I think that I kind of like that one, so it's not as cylindrical. And then we got the one in the back. And I think this one in the back, it's pretty cool. I think it has a good contrast. Again, the silhouette's pretty nice. I like how wide it goes on the base, and the twist is really nice. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. All the best and strong mentality.